Hey, hey, hey.
Alright, so Game 5, Bucks and Hawks, there was no Trae Young, no Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Bucks prevail with a pretty easy win all around. Now first, I just want to quickly touch on the Giannis and Trae injuries because they both have some interesting thoughts surrounding them. Starting with Giannis, he was listed as doubtful rather than just being straight up ruled out, which could be encouraging for Bucks fans and just the Bucks in general, because I very much doubt that he'll be coming back for this series. But if the Bucks are able to close out and reach the NBA Finals by winning one of the last two games, then I think there could be a chance that we could see Giannis return to the lineup maybe in Game 3 or 4 of the NBA Finals, given that they'll have a few extra rest days to get everything right. And, we still don't know quite the specifics of the Giannis injury, but nothing was torn. Oh, that's a great sign for everyone, and hopefully he'll be back at some point. Now, Trae Young, on the other hand, I can't lie, I was a little bit surprised that he did not end up playing. Obviously, he has the bone bruise in his foot after he twisted his ankle, so definitely not an easy thing to play on, but considering that they could have had this game with no Giannis, crucial Game 5 scenario, and he didn't play, tells me that the injury might be a little bit worse than they initially let on. Or maybe the Hawks simply just tried to sneak a few extra rest days for Trae to make sure that, rather than playing him hurt for the rest of the series, he could maybe be closer to 80-85% for the final two games. Either way, Trae will definitely be a situation to watch over the next couple of days as we approach Game 6. They're going to be back in Atlanta, so I would assume at this point that Trae Young is going to play, season on the line. Hawks want to have their best players out there, but again, we'll have to wait and see. But despite the injuries, the rest of the Bucks lineup did a great job in stepping up, unlike the rest of the Hawks lineup, as we saw pretty much everyone in Milwaukee have a great game. Obviously, we had Brook Lopez, who we'll be getting into later for some film breakdown. He had a big night, 33 points, 7 rebounds, 4 blocks, all on 78% true shooting. Chris Middleton had 26, 13 rebounds, and 8 assists, close to a triple-double, while Jrue Holiday also had a double-double of his own with 25 points, 13 assists, and 6 rebounds. And the key thing for both of these guys was they were aggressive right out the gates. They got to the rim early, which helped open up the jump shooting for them and the rest of the Bucks team as well. Simply put, these guys are at their best when they're being aggressive, getting to the rim, and forcing the defense to make mistakes, which the Hawks defense made plenty of in Game 5. And not to mention, Bobby Portis in his first playoff start had a playoff career high. He had 22 to go with 8 rebounds, a whole lot of hustle plays as well, and he really gets that crowd hype in Milwaukee. They love themselves some Bobby Portis out there. And overall in this game, again, straight out the gates, the Bucks were just the higher energy team. They were the ones that were making the plays when they needed to be made. On defense, they were making their rotations. Offense, they're moving the ball very well. Not to mention, this was another game in the series where the Bucks defense decided to pretty much switch everything, as again, we'll get into that later with Brook Lopez. But yeah, every game now that the Bucks have deployed their switching defense rather than doing their usual, no switching, stick with their guy type thing, they have just absolutely dominated the Hawks. So I'd imagine that we're going to see it again in Game 6, especially with no Giannis. They're probably just going to stick to a similar game plan because it is just working wonderfully for them. And the Hawks, on the other hand, struggled very, very mightily in this game. Pretty much everyone outside of Bogdanovic just could not get into any rhythm at all. Bogdanovic, though, was doing his best Steph Curry impression, just raining threes, pulling up from everywhere on the court, seemingly. And he was the only one out there that was willing to take and make tough shots, which at this point in the playoffs, Eastern Conference Finals, you're going to need multiple guys who can get you a bucket when you need it. And it was just very, very evident that with only Bogdanovic being a true scorer out in this game and being the only efficient scorer, that the Hawks were struggling to get any sort of run going. Bucks shut them down pretty much every single time, and that was a huge reason why they could never really just close that gap at any point in the game. With that being said, though, the younger players on the Hawks lineup gave a lot of solid minutes in limited fashion, obviously, but overall they've shown a lot of great flashes. They continue to show a lot of great flashes in this series. Cam Reddish came back from the Achilles injury and has looked amazing in his limited run so far in these playoffs. I'm very happy and excited to see that he's been able to get healthy from a pretty scary injury. something that could bother someone for quite some time if not handled correctly. But he's getting some very, very important minutes in the Eastern Conference Finals, high intensity playoff game, and to know that he's going to take this experience and then go into an offseason healthy and be able to improve and grow, this is all shaping up to potentially be a huge breakout season next season for Cam Reddish, and everyone loves him. I love me some Cam Reddish as well. I think we're all ready for it and we're all here for it. And Onyeka Okongwu as well, just a quick pointer on him, he continues to be a great defensive player in the series, matching up on Giannis from before he got hurt, just every other big in general they played on. Obviously he's young, he's a rookie, he's already made a lot of mistakes, but he's also shown, again, just some very, very impressive flashes that has me and a lot of Hawks fans excited for his future in the league. And last point on the Hawks I wanted to make, Chris Dunn, on the other hand, compared to Okongwu and Reddish, has been pretty abysmal in these playoffs. Chris Dunn was someone I was pretty excited for when the Hawks signed him in the offseason. Then he ended up missing pretty much the entire season, sans a few games at the end of the year where he was, getting his feet back under him. And then because of all the injuries to the Hawks in this playoff run, he's been getting some minutes and they haven't necessarily been the best. Chris Dunn is known as an all-defensive level defender with not a whole lot of offense, and in this series it's just been a lot of the no offense with not a lot of the good defense. So he's been pretty much unplayable, even though he's been forced to play, again, because of the injuries. But he's someone else who might just need an off-season to get things right. I'm hoping for the best for him because he could be a really good addition to Trae Young and Lou Williams in the backcourt on this team as just a very solid defender that could help him out. But yeah, overall, even though the Hawks are down in the series 3-2 and things aren't looking too great for them as of now, their future is still very much bright. This is a team that wasn't expected to be at this point in the playoffs, so it's nice to see them making progress and having some progress ready for the future. But now we're going to transition over to some film breakdown on Brook Lopez's big night. It was the Brook Lopez game, in fact. Again, 33 points. And what's crazy to me is over the past couple of years in Milwaukee especially, Brook Lopez has molded himself into a modern NBA center, someone who can shoot threes but also be able to protect the rim. Yet he comes out in this game and drops 33 points, doesn't hit a single three, shoots 0 for 2 from downtown, and just does a lot of work in the pick and roll in the post. And it's just seemed very, very much like what he did back in his heyday in 2013 in Brooklyn when he was an all-star. He was a lot of post work, just being that natural big, roaming in the paint, playing solid defense, which he wasn't really known for back then as well either. But one thing I think is safe to say is not having Giannis on the court for an entire game, being able to game plan around not having your star player, it definitely helped Brook Lopez's game because he didn't have to worry about Giannis and his driving lanes in the paint on offense. Brook could just maneuver around the paint as he used to do as a true center and not have to worry about catch and shooting or any of the other stuff that he has molded himself into over the past couple of years. But one last thing I want to point out before getting into the video is that Brook Lopez shouldn't be scoring 30 points in an NBA playoff game in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Hawks defense, as you're about to see, was pretty atrocious on a lot of these plays that even I was getting fed up. Even though I'm not a Hawks fan, I have no dog in this fight, but a lot of his buckets were simply just a lot of defensive miscues that led to either easy layups, easy lobs, but you'll see as we get into these clips, so let's just get started. Starting with the defensive clip early in the game, we can see Lou Will and John Collins run a pick and roll, and Brook Lopez helps off of Clint Capella, knowing he's not too much of a shooting threat, to dive back to the paint and get the nice block on John Collins early. Then here's an example of what I was talking about earlier with the Bucks switching in this game rather than staying with their guys. Brook Lopez was dealing with a lot of the guards on the perimeter for most of this game and did a pretty good job. And even as you can see here, he gets a really good contest and forces Kevin Huerter to take a tough step back three. And then he runs down the court, knows his team's going to get the rebound, and then he seals Kevin Huerter with the mismatch on the other side of the court on the fast break, gets the ball, and gets the very easy lay-in. Then these next couple of plays grouped together are really where you start to see the Hawks just mismanaging their defense, not communicating a whole lot, and just not exactly playing the best help or rotating the best. As we see on this first one, Drew Holiday gets into the paint, causes the center Okongwu to come out on him, and it just opens up the very easy lob that Brook Lopez just absolutely tomahawks for no reason, out of nowhere. Then on both of these plays, they're going to look like mirror images of each other, but Drew Holiday beats his man on the baseline and then finds Brook Lopez for an easy cut and dunk down the middle of the paint. Then getting into the second half, we see Brook Lopez again making impacts on the defensive side of the ball, was out on Herter, rotates back to Capella in the paint, then denies the post up and gets a hand on it, forcing the steal. Just another good defensive play by Brook. And then here's another example of Brook turning good defense into offense on the fast break. Here forces a much tougher shot than Bogdanovic would have liked. Then, as Milton grabs the rebound, Brook Lopez hustles down the court, emphasis on the hustle, but then he gets Lou Will trapped in the paint as Capella tries to switch onto him, puts up the shot, gets the and one in true Brook Lopez fashion. Then, a couple plays later, we see Chris Middleton and Brook run a pretty simple pick and roll. Brook rolls to the rim, and again, the Hawks just offer no help defense, no rotations at all from John Collins, and it just ends up being another very easy dunk and 2 points for Brook Lopez. And then some more Brook Lopez defending against guards on the perimeter. Lou Will gets the pass back and tries to go ISO on him, but with the help defense forcing Lou Will to put up not quite the shot he wanted, it allows Brook Lopez to get a hand on the shot for the pretty easy block. Then a couple plays later, we see the Bucks pull out a double drag, although Brook Lopez slips it, and again, just no resistance from any of the help defenders as the rotations are a little bit late here, and it ends up being a pretty easy lob up to Brook Lopez again for 2 easy points. Now into the fourth quarter, some more Brook Lopez defending on the perimeter. Now it's Bogdanovic falling victim, takes the ball out, tries the ISO on him, but Brook again sticks right with him and gets another block as a guard tries to take him to the rim. And this was probably some of the best defense we've seen Brook Lopez play this season, just because they usually don't switch as much. Like I've said, the Bucks have been known as a team that switches the least in the entire NBA, so it's definitely a great sign to see Brook Lopez playing some of his best defense at the perfect time as they're going for a deep playoff run. And then one last clip late in the fourth. This is really my tipping point for this Hawks defense. We see Chris Middleton get doubled. Bogdanovic is responsible for trying to cut off that pass out to Drew Holiday. And then Brook Lopez does what he's supposed to do, cuts to the rim. But if you're John Collins, you can't just let Brook Lopez catch it so easily and offer no resistance in the paint. Like, your team at this point is down 12 points with 2 minutes left. If you're going to try and make any sort of last-minute rally, you just simply have to put more effort in than we see in this play here. And this was a great example of just how the entire game went for the Hawks. There were multiple points in that game where the Hawks were slowly trimming the lead down, and I would keep on asking myself, why can't they get over the hump? Why can't they make this a close game? And again, after rewatching, it was very evident that it was their defense and just lack of hustle and lack of just wanting to make the right reads on defense that was the main cause for it. Now with that being said, as we approach Game 6, again, I personally expect Trae Young to get back out there and play, which will be a huge boost to the team. Not to mention they'll also be back in Atlanta, so they'll have the home crowd advantage. I wouldn't at all be surprised if the Hawks end up taking Game 6 and forcing a Game 7, especially if Giannis continues to stay out, which he most likely will. But from there, even with Trae Young back for a potential Game 7, I'm just not quite sure if the Hawks are going to have it in them. I think the Bucks are going to come out ready to play like they did in this game. They're going to have the home court advantage as the game will be back in Milwaukee for Game 7. And unless Trae Young pulls out another masterclass performance, I just very much doubt that we're going to be seeing the Hawks in the NBA Finals. Now, will I be surprised if they make it there? No, they're still a very qualified team. They're still very good. But as of now, I'm preparing for a Suns-Bucks Finals, which, especially if we get Giannis back at some point in that series, it should be a pretty entertaining one. The Bucks, this might be their best chance to get that ring that they've been after for so many years now. For the Suns, this could be the potential start of the rise of Devin Booker, and CP3 could finally get his ring after 16 years, so there will be plenty of storylines to look into, plenty of entertaining basketball to watch. As always, I'm just excited to see what happens. I can't wait. And yeah, let's get to it.